I did German and French for GCSE after starting German in year 9, and then I went on to do French and German along with history at A level. I found I enjoyed German up to GCSE and enjoyed the sound of the language. It was very different to French. And the grammatical structures were very different, and I liked that. I always felt a bit of a logic puzzle trying to work out German sentences. So that was the first reason I was attracted to German. And then when I went on to do A level, we learned a bit more about culture and history and literature of Germany. And I was also lucky enough to go on a school trip to Munich, where we were able to see the country for the first time and speak German in an authentic setting. So yes, I think the initial attraction was the language learning, but then it became an interest in Germany itself and the country and its culture and history. Munich was great fun. It was open as well to people who didn't study German but had studied history, because we did a lot of German history. So there were historians and linguists and literary types on the trip, and we had a good mixture of experiences. So we did go to Linderhof to see King Ludwig's castle, and learned a bit about that. We went to Oberammergau and had a talk about the Passion Play. But we also were able to just walk around the Christmas market, see a bit of what Munich really looked like at night, speak German for the first time to actual Germans. And it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, so I think it was really nice to take the German out of the classroom for the first time. So I first went as an undergraduate to Oxford University, where I did 2 languages. I did French and German. And although I had done a bit of literature at German A level, this was a chance to really learn even more and learn in more depth about German literature and cultural history. So we had some lectures in German, Deutsche Kultur und Gesellschaft, where we learned about sort of social issues and culture in Germany from the 19th century to the present. And we also, for the first time, I was studying poetry in German and plays in German. And at first I did find it difficult. You're not a fluent reader straight away, even after A level. You still have to look words up, and you find sometimes reading in German for the first time, reading a novel in German can be quite a challenge, but it's amazing how quickly you can gain that fluency, and that was something that really built confidence, I think, in the first year at university. But the thing that really sort of confirmed my love of German, I suppose, was the year abroad, which I spent in Heidelberg. I was an English language assistant at a gymnasium, so a German grammar school, and I was teaching English in the classroom, but all my colleagues otherwise were German, and we were speaking German a lot of the time, and I just found living in the language was a really positive thing for developing spoken fluency and really getting to know people in their own language. So when I came back for my final year at Oxford, although I loved French very much and I loved the French literature that we studied, German was the stronger of the 2 languages, and that's what made the decision for me, I think, to go on and do the Masters and focus on German more than French. So I did my Masters at Queen's University in Belfast, and that was absolutely a literature based. So we did some modules on German poetry and German literature. They were mostly 20th century, and I found that very enjoyable, but I developed a real specific interest, I suppose, in the 19th century. So when I went on to do my PhD at Edinburgh University, the topic of my thesis was a 19th century writer, E.T.A. Hoffmann, who's a very funny writer, a very satirical writer, and a very imaginative writer, and he's really my first love in German, I suppose, and my PhD focused on Hoffmann. So I went over to Edinburgh, where I had an expert supervisor who's an expert in the 19th century, and that was when my research interests began to really focus in on what I would go on to do and go on to teach as well. I think there are a lot of benefits, both practical and maybe less quantifiable, but kind of qualitative benefits. So from a practical perspective, first of all, having a language is a real benefit. It's really stands out to employers. I think being a native English speaker with fluency in even one foreign language really makes you stand out. It's becoming less and less common, unfortunately, but for that reason it's also a rarity value on the employment market. So I think if you're able to kind of communicate, imagine in business you can speak to clients in their own language. You could see journalism, it's very useful if you're wanting to go into foreign affairs as well, if you want to work for the diplomatic office. There are kind of endless uses of a foreign language that make people stand out and that open up a lot of career paths. On the kind of less, I suppose, vocational side of things, languages, just like all humanities subjects, they help students develop a lot of critical skills. For example, presentation skills, critical thinking. If you're studying a literature degree, say you're studying English literature, you learn about critical analysis, you learn about how to express yourself in language, you learn about how different cultures work. Imagine you've got all those skills, but you've got them in a foreign language as well as in your own language. So I think that's another wonderful advantage. Finally, and I think for me it's actually the greatest benefit, getting to spend time in a foreign country, getting to know another culture, making friends in a foreign language. It's a wonderfully fulfilling thing to really get to know somebody in their own language. And it also teaches you, perhaps counterintuitively, but it's true, a lot about your own culture if you can see it from an outside perspective. And I think that certainly helps you think about our place in the world. Yeah, from an outside perspective, I suppose. So languages, they can bring a whole lot of very practical skills. They boost your earning potential with employers, but they also let you learn about the wider world and connect with the wider world and think about your own position in it. And that's not something you can necessarily quantify, but I think it's very important, particularly today when maybe a lot of places are getting a bit more insular. It's more important than ever to make these connections.